Hello and welcome to the Visionary Chronicles. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being with me again today. Got another great episode in front of us today, and I think it's very, very timely based on where we're at with the economy, based on where we're at with the tariff news and everything else that's going on, I'm sure, in your life, both personally and professionally. So hopefully, as you move along this journey, we can provide some answers for you and some clarity along the way, as much as we all can. So there's a lot of uncertainty out there. So today on the Visionary Chronicles, we're going to talk about leadership, what I call the change compass. Leadership when the path is unclear. And we're certainly in an environment today where the path is unclear. As we had been in COVID, we seem to be facing this on a year-over-year basis, but it's nothing new to those leaders out there in business. So we want to see if we can put some clarity to what's going on out there, but put it in the context of leadership. So I always like to start out with a quote. Today it's Richard Branson, and I thought it's very appropriate for our episode today. The only constant in business is change. Those who learn to manage and embrace it will thrive. Those who fear it will be left behind. I thought, what a great quote for what we're talking about today. So welcome to the episode of the Visionary Chronicles, where we explore the challenges and triumphs of business leadership in times of uncertainty. Today's episode, The Change Compass, Leadership When the Path is Unclear, we dive into one of the most crucial traits of visionary leadership, I find, in the brands that I work with, Liquid Mind, as well as the brands that I've been with personally. I find this is one that is, in fact, the most challenging thing for leadership in businesses. And I'm sure you do, if you've been impacted by it, either as a leader yourself and or part of a team that's been through change. Trying to find clear direction and conviction is challenging. So we dive into how do you navigate change with confidence, clarity, and conviction. That's three things, 3 C's, a bonus for 3 C's. But I find it's easier for you to remember if we do this. So with confidence, clarity, and conviction. So in times of disruption, like we're in today, there's always world change, world order change. I say these things either function properly or they don't function properly. So that we either at the point of entering a storm, in a storm, or recently left a storm. And I think we're in either one of those 3 phases at any point in time in business. So in times of disruption, when the road ahead is really clouded, let's just say by doubt, economic shifts, and rapid innovation, leaders are not called to panic in these situations. But I understand if they do. So how are we going to pivot, guide, and inspire through these disruptions? It's a challenge. I understand that. It's a real big challenge for leaders out there. But that's really hopefully where through challenges that I personally have been through, challenges with brands that I've been with, we've been through, and also whiteboarding a lot of this through COVID and what we're going through today, that we can provide some clarity to what's going on. And also, not only in this situation, you're going to face it again. As I'd mentioned, you're either in the start of a storm, in a storm, or leaving a storm is usually the 3 stages of where you're at with leadership and business. It's unfortunate to be in that, but certainly you're going to be in one of those 3 phases. So I find the most successful visionaries don't fear the unknown. They use it as what we'll call a compass to find new direction and greater opportunity. And that's the reason they're called visionaries. They futurecast. They can see the future. They know the opportunity in front of them. And when people are running, it's when they embrace the opportunity. When others run, others are fearful. They're risk takers. They have courage to jump into this opportunity and find where they can gain a competitive advantage. So join me in this episode as we'll unpack how to lead confidently when clarity is in really short supply. and how to transform challenge into momentum for your brand, your company, service, whatever it happens to be. And we're going to talk about this today on the Visionary Chronicles. So let's dive into, let's just say, how great leaders thrive when others freeze. And I love that. When others freeze, you thrive. And how you too can lead when the path forward is unclear. And again, I think this is great timing based on where we're at today in the business environment that we're in. There's a lot of, let's say, unclarity and also a lot of people panicking. So at the same time, I can tell you there are a lot of brands that we work with that are seizing this as an opportunity. And so let's talk about these, what I call, they're not all, again, I always say this at the beginning of my podcast, but it's true. I'm going to give you the top 5. I just find it's easier for you to remember, but these are probably the ones that I would say are the top 5 key areas of leadership for overcoming uncertainty. And this is through the knowledge of being with major global brands, as well as working with global brands through a crisis, and also coming out the back end, being better for it as a result of maximizing others that were running while we were finding opportunities to succeed and take market share. So let's talk about these 5 areas of leadership for overcoming uncertainty and finding clarity when you're in a disruptive stage. Number 1 is embracing uncertainty as a strategic advantage. It's an interesting way of looking at it because the risk that you take is not taking a risk. And you're in a situation where, yes, it's like being in a bad market, right? Being in a bad stock market. And they say, buy high, sell low. That's normally what happens when you panic. When you have a strategy around how you're managing your portfolio, in this case, company, services, brand, product, whatever it happens to be, you always want to buy low, sell high. That's always the opportunity. And if you have future casting and visionaries do have this, you can see through the tunnel of uncertainty. And you can see through the storm clouds where the opportunity lies. So number 1 is embracing uncertainty as strategic advantage. And visionary leaders understand that uncertainty breeds innovation. Look back at all of the great innovations in our world over the generations. Now, this also comes as an inspiration from my book, which is over my shoulder here, called The Visionary Leader. It's a follow-up to my first best-selling book, The Visionary Brand, the success formula behind the world's most visionary brands. This new book that I just finished, The Visionary Leader, the success principles of the world's greatest visionaries, I profile 21 of the greatest visionaries of all time, not just current generational leaders, but all what I would call visionary leaders. And this has been a constant with each one of them. They understand uncertainty breeds opportunity, it breeds innovation. So this is a really key one you need to understand, is stay calm through the storms. Insist on resisting change during this disruption. Leverage ambiguity to challenge the norms and uncover breakthroughs. That's a great way of looking at it. So visionary leaders understand that uncertainty breeds innovation, and change builds opportunity. So instead of resisting change, they leverage this disruption to challenge the norms and uncover breakthroughs. So that's the first one. The second one you want to embrace is the power of adaptive leadership. And what I mean by this is that leadership chaos requires a mindset of flexibility and responsiveness. Adapt. I always call it many times switchback leadership, because you're going down this mountain, you may switch back. If you've ever been a mountain bike rider like I am, you're going down a vertical climb like that, you need a switchback. You're not going to go straight down the mountain, or you're going to crash and burn. So you need to be able to adapt to the environment. So leadership in chaos requires a mindset of flexibility and responsiveness. You need to build frameworks that allow for rapid decision making. That's key as well. I'm not saying that you never change. But you need to relax, keep a calm mind, and understand that you need to adapt to the situation, but you also can't be complacent. It's better to make a bad decision than make no decision at all, because everybody's looking for direction and a reason for that direction, but you're not pivoting away from your destiny. Your destiny is your vision of what you have for your brand, your company, product, or service. And again, building frameworks that allow for rapid decision making, even when the complete information isn't unavailable. It's critical when you're in a disruptive situation that you make quick, rapid decisions, even when everything is not perfect. That's what you're getting at. As I've seen in boardrooms where people are sitting around the table in these types of scenarios that we're in today, never making a decision. And I said, make a decision. We don't have all the information. Well, tough. Then make a decision, even if it's bad, because people need direction. Otherwise, they're frozen in time, and that does nobody good. So a tip that I'm going to give to you here on this power of adaptive leadership is use scenario planning like what-if models to prepare the organization for multiple futures. And it works really well when you talk about rapid decision making, because when you get into a what-if scenario, you're going through many different case studies in a rapid form. You're not frameworking everything. You just say, what's the best case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? What's the anticipated scenario? But it gives you an idea of what if this happens? What do you do? And what's the best potential outcome relative to the situation we see today? So the third is anchoring teams with a purpose and a vision. And this is really important for a leader to understand. In times of uncertainty, the clarity is always purpose and vision. That never changes. Let me be real clear there that the clarity of purpose and vision never changes. But you can be adaptive and flexible. Be a switchback leader, but also at the same time understand that your team is looking for authenticity through chaos. So when the outside world feels uncertain, let's say, internal clarity becomes the guiding focus of your company. So ensure that you reinforce your brand's mission and long-term vision and purpose to keep your team focused and unified. It's your job as a leader, as a visionary leader, to ensure that you reach your destination. So a quote to remember is, in the absence of uncertainty, clarity is your best compass. So again, in the absence of certainty, clarity is your best compass. Number 4 is communication is everything. You know, I've seen so many companies, brands, and leaders who just say, hey, listen, let's play this thing out and not communicate what our decision is, our what-if scenarios that we've gone through, and we've actually selected one. Hey, let's just see how this thing pans out and really not tell people directionally where we're going with this idea. And in times of change, silence breeds anxiety. Okay, that's why I say it's better to make a bad decision than no decision at all, because you're silent. It brings anxiety to your team. Think about you not having been a leader and part of a team where the leader didn't bring clarity or communication to the situation. Everybody knows it bad. That's no surprise to anyone. The fact that you're leading, you know, that's an action verb. Move, lead. Leaders must communicate openly, frequently, and transparently with their team. So share the why behind your decisions as well. You know that question is going to be asked. So if let me give you an example. So if you play out these what-if scenarios, you need to understand when you're talking to your team, the takeaway is they're going to ask why. I don't care if it's on the board of directors, with the shareholders asking, more importantly, with your internal team asking. Hey, based on the situation, I get it that we're doing this, but why are we doing it? And it must follow your mission, purpose, and long-term vision in order for it to be authentic. And Let your team know how they play a vital role in the journey forward to execute this strategy. That's important as well. They want to be what we call contributors to the success of your company and your brand. And number 5 is build a resilient culture that can withstand shifts. This is something you don't work on in the middle of chaos. And this is why it's so important on a day-to-day basis that you build this culture that understands your purpose, your vision, and where you're going from a destination to reaching your goal as a company, service, product, or brand. Encourage experimentation, calculated risk-taking, and continuous learning. Each one of these, piece by piece, experimentation has to be embraced in your culture. Calculated risk-taking will help you as you go through these disruptions. A great example is, think about the disruptions that you've been in. What's the first default most companies go to? It's the P&L. And I say that's the wrong way to go. I'm not saying you don't make any cuts or adjustments to the P&L. That's just too easy. You need to look at the scenario and look as to what this new environment that you're in needs from your company, brand, product, or service. Calculated risk-taking is inherent in your culture. You're going to be able to pivot much quicker and bring a product or service to the market and commercialize it quicker. And the third piece to that is continuous learning. And I want to keep harping on this because there are so few leaders and also so few brands that will build a culture of continuous learning for their team. It's critical to the future success of your brand. And it will allow you, as Steve put it, to put a dent in the universe, but to also understand a smarter culture, a smarter team allows you to take calculated risk with a higher rate of success when you build that culture. You can't build this in the middle of chaos. It's not authentic, and your team doesn't understand how to do it because it's not part of your DNA or your culture. So build a resilient culture that can withstand shifts, because cultures are built on trust. You think trust is built overnight? That's where you need to look at it from a leader's perspective, because the thing that I hear 99% of the time when you talk about a resilient culture that can withstand shifts, when we put it up on the board with the leaders and with our brands, what do you think the number one thing that they say they cannot do because of this issue? It's time. And again, I say bullshit on time. You're wasting time by not allowing for experimentation, risk-taking, and continuous learning of your team. It will allow you to be a resilient team, culture, brand, and product in the marketplace. So cultures are built on trust, adaptability, and collaboration, and it thrives on turbulent times. Just look at Microsoft under Satya to grow a growth mindset, radically transform Microsoft's culture and their trajectory. This growth mindset that Satya brought with him was experimentation, calculated risk-taking, and continuous learning at Microsoft that the culture before didn't have. He built trust, he built adaptability and collaboration with his team. So again, as you go through these disruptive times as a leader, you are the one your team is looking to lead you through this storm. So make sure that as you overcome adversity, uncertainty, these 5 areas that I've outlined, embracing uncertainty as a strategic advantage, number 1. Visionary leaders understand uncertainty breeds innovation and opportunity. Number 2, the power of adaptive leadership. Leadership in chaos requires a mindset of flexibility and responsiveness and adaptability for rapid decision-making opportunities. Number 3 is anchoring your teams with a purpose and a vision. This doesn't happen in chaos. Let me preface this by saying this is something that's built over time. It's anchored into the principles of your company, brand, product, or service. Anchoring teams with purpose and vision. Any leader that says they don't have time is a brand that's not going to lead through chaos because their team isn't empowered to be able to work with them to get through this chaos and uncertainty. Number 4 is communication is everything. In times of change, silence breeds anxiety. This is when let's not make a decision yet. That disrupts a company more than a leader making a decision that happens to turn out bad. Leaders must communicate openly, frequently, and transparently. And number 5 is always build a resilient culture that can withstand these shifts, these disruptions, this chaos. And again, encourage experimentation, calculated risk-taking. And I say calculated because at some point, something may not work out, and you can't keep pounding your head against the wall. All you do is just keep hurting yourself and getting bloody as a result. And continuous learning is key. I would say with continuous learning is the one that most leaders leave out almost every single time. Use brands like Microsoft and Google as a model for continuous learning. They set aside an allocated amount of time, I know for sure Google has 20%, to continuous learning to make them a better brand, product, and service to their community. Yes, these employees may move on, but word of mouth is everything. And what I mean by that is that people that want to work for brands and companies want to know that the brand and company care. And allowing them continuous learning is one of those areas that very few companies embrace. Very few companies or brands embrace. And cultures are built on trust, adaptability, collaboration, and they thrive in turbulent times like this. So some final thoughts, and I'll give these to you, but these are 5. Like I said, that I'd give you 10 or 20, but I just think it's easier to remember 5. And leading with vision in a fog of uncertainty. So leadership isn't always about knowing the way out. There's a step process to this. It's about being willing to find a way out. Bring others with you and inspire belief along this journey together. I've seen too many brands, companies, and leaders that are insular. Oh, we can work it out, between the leaders here in the room. And we'll only let the employees know what they need to know. That's not a way to lead a brand or a company. It leads to uncertainty. It leads to unclarity as to the direction of the brand and company, and no authentication or trust with the leadership. So the most powerful compass during change is your unwavering commitment to your vision and your values. Let me say that again. The most powerful compass during change, always remember this as a leader, is your unwavering commitment to your vision and values. So as you face, let's face it, these unpredictable storms that you face, I'm not saying you shouldn't be panicking a little bit. And I always call it, I affectionately always called it the duck syndrome. I felt I can be paddling like crazy underneath, but my team sees the calm on the surface. So as you face the unpredictable, remember this. Uncertainty isn't your enemy. It's your opportunity to lead differently. Think boldly and rise above the noise. That's key. So thank you again for your time today, and hopefully you've enjoyed the Visionary Chronicles episode today. And if you have enjoyed the episode, please, we always say subscribe. And thank you to those that have subscribed over the, let's just say now, years. I think this is our episode 196. And if you do subscribe, we have many things that you get as a subscriber. You stay updated on latest insights into innovation, leadership, brand strategy. And so we always want to make sure that we offer value to you beyond the podcast. And also, if you could leave a review, that's always appreciated. And share this episode with your network, those that others you feel may find it beneficial to their leadership journey. So also stay tuned to our next episode of the Visionary Chronicles, where we'll discuss artificial intelligence on how it's reshaping the business landscape. So the next episode, Transformed, how artificial intelligence is reshaping the business landscape. And as we wrap up this episode, I'd mentioned it a couple times before in the last week, on the Visionary Chronicles, I have an exciting opportunity. I'd mentioned my book earlier, The Visionary Leader, The Success Principles of the World's Greatest Visionary Leaders, nearing its release in July, or actually June 30th, across all distribution outlets. And I'm inviting you to be part of this journey with me. And whether you're an aspiring leader, a seasoned entrepreneur, or really just seeking some personal growth, the Visionary Leader will guide you, hopefully, on your journey to creating a lasting impact. Not only professionally, but we feel also personally. The visionaries that we profiled on here aren't the normal visionaries people think of, which I think is really super cool. Alexander the Great, Socrates, Beethoven, Martin Luther King Jr., all of these leaders, the visionary leaders that we've either been affected by or continue to be affected by this day. So if you'd like to receive an ebook advanced reader copy and share your thoughts as an early reviewer, and we would obviously love to have it on Amazon, that's where most of our readers are putting them, please claim your copy at Booksprout through the following link. This is a limited time offering, and we'll put a link out there for our subscribers to grab this ebook. It's got a limited quantity, so grab yours as fast as you can. And again, I appreciate your time. I want to just keep saying that in my episodes. We keep getting more and more subscribers every week to the Visionary Chronicles, and want to thank you for your time. And, hopefully you've been able to utilize what we talk about here in the Visionary Chronicles on your journey of visionary leadership. And I love it when you reach back out to me with questions that you have and follow-up questions. And I want you to keep doing that, and also letting me know how you've applied what we talk about here at the Visionary Chronicles, so we can also provide that feedback to those who listen to the Visionary Chronicles and help all of us as we move along our journey to hopefully being visionary at some point. And I also want to mention, I mentioned this in the last podcast, we have one of the most groundbreaking podcast series coming up. And this is something that's been in works for almost a year now. It's been challenging, but something that I had my mindset and passion around. And it's called the Visionary Interviews. And what we're going to be doing is interviewing, hopefully, all 21 visionary leaders that I profiled in the book through the beauty and art of artificial intelligence, that we're going to bring them back and hopefully be able to interview them. I can tell you that we have Steve Jobs and Albert Einstein in the bucket already, and they're awesome interviews. So I hope you tune in for that as well. We'll be restarting that series here in a couple weeks. And again, if you have any questions, any follow-up, anything you need to ask me, please feel free to reach out to me at Bryan, B-R-Y-A-N, at liquidmindsite.com, liquidmindsite.com. Or you can go directly to the website, liquidmindsite.com, liquidmindsite.com, and go to the contact page and just send us a question. Or you can go to my personal site, bryansmeltzer.com, and see the services and advisories that we provide to our subscribers, as well as the brands that we work with and leaders that we work with. So until next time, keep innovating, keep leading, keep shaping the future. And thank you for your continued support again, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. And stay true, stay authentic, be different, be great, but enjoy the journey along the way. Until the next Visionary Chronicles, have a great day.